Hey, everyone, good evening. Tonight we're stepping into a realm you've probably never really stared at directly, yet it left silent paw prints along the margins of countless parchments, the cats of the medieval monastery. Sounds like a fairy tale combo of soothing fluff plus sacred chant, right? Hold that thought. Their daily life is wax strips, mice, ink smudges, damp stone, the occasional shadow of superstition, and more original emoji faces than your phone could dream of. Before we fully sink in, if you genuinely like these slow, detailed, gentle, slightly dry and wry night stories, then consider a like and a subscription, only if it's real. That keeps things light for both of us. And drop a comment, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? It's always delightful seeing you all scattered across latitudes and stages of drowsiness, alright? Dim the lights, or leave just one low, warm lamp. Spin up a fan or white noise, let the edges of the day dissolve. We're entering a courtyard ringed by stone walls and measured by bells, its rhythm interrupted by soft tales. Welcome to a world humming with prayer tones, granary must, rodent tension, and the lofty indolence of stretching felines. You might think a medieval monastery was pure austerity, sterile of worldly fur. In truth, there were whiskers, shedding overturned ink, and facial micro-expressions more precise than your reaction gifs. Acti waking beside a cat, you wake not to an alarm, but to the slow exhalation of cold stored in stone, and the first, not quite a synchronized bell. Underfoot rough planks. In the air, flecks of worn fabric, a faint sour ghost of last meal's pea stew, and threading through it, a mild, fatty warmth cat presence. There in the wall corner a knot of dark grey and pale brown rises and falls, the nose twitching like a slow, unhurried bellows. You shift, it peels open one eye, amber resin half melted, assessing worth standing. No, you haven't reached for the wooden spoon yet. It resumes sleep. Light slips through the narrow stone slit, thin diluted. Dust motes float like a convoy of microscopic coracles. Mixed in fibers, soot specks, cereal husk grit, and a few hairs lifted when the cat twitched last night. You exhale, they sway like a fleet of tiny flags. Far off, from the granary, a short, sharp squeal, not feline, just a mouse that turned the wrong way. Acti, what it looks like. No breeds. Only life, carved shapes. Let's be clear, the catalogue of modern engineered breeds. Flat-faced Persians, plush ragdolls, naked sphinx. Does not exist. The monastery cat is a gene shuffle, land composite. Most common base tabby, nature's default camouflage algorithm. Many wear the classic forehead M. Some have darker dorsal stripes, lighter bellies. Sometimes a pure black cat prowls. Centuries later it will suffer baseless accusations. But tonight it's merely a low-saturation shadow. Tortoisey shells and calicos appear color patches like impatient paint drips from a novice scribe, only laid down with 10 times the unconscious elegance. Ears often show a nick, no fashion statement, just a barn skirmish merit badge. Tail, instrument of balance and mood telemetry. Late winter, with grain low and sea wind threading mortar gaps, the coat feels a touch coarse. Lean protein from hunts rather than uniform commercial fat blending. The eyes are the real reaction pack. You think filters gave cats a soul. Actually, they've always run this interface. Half-lid patience. During the 7th section of a reading, a curled cat silently critiques your content-lacking prey arcs. Ear radar snap, a hinge squeaks by the granary. The ears pivot first, twin crescents reoriented before muscle follows. Whiskers fanned plus slight parted mouth, evaluating whether your bowl scrap contains ancestral fish potential. Slow blink, not the syrupy internet caption. I love you. Here it's a whole-of-body relax safety valve, a sudden acceptance bubble in cold masonry. Acta is prime between bells, mice, function, and allocation. Meanwhile the gaps between bells form the skeleton of time. Cats supply the meat. You step into the cloister. Grit under your soul whispers. The arcade stretches, bends, smudges your footfall. A cat paces alongside, not for liturgical solidarity, but because dawn remains medium traffic for rodents. The monastery has grain, parchment, early decorative adhesives. This is an all-you-can-eat hub for gnaws. Cats reduce losses and project psychological deterrence. Mice smell doom and hesitate. They're in effect an organic pest management system. No IT tickets. No annual audit. Just minimal feed supplementation and absence of violent expulsion. You might think every creature was rigidly barred from sacred process. In practice, Maintaining functional balance outranks purity of abstract regulation. So long as the cat doesn't leap on an altar, theology keeps its peace. A young charcoal tabby belly crawls along a columned shadow, tail tip quivers, then pounce. Dust bursts like a bloom. It lifts its trophy, emits a truncated growl telling an approaching opportunist, no sharing today. It moves to a corner and runs a teaching demo toss, chase, bat, pen, an immediate diagram of life-death toggling more vivid than any sermon. You watch, noting you haven't eaten yet. It already processed a protein package, Act IV ink, parchment, and an accidental signature blot next, the scriptorium. Air candle tallow and a faint resin warmth. Scraped parchment glows ivory, like slow melting frost. Quill dips iron gall ink, the metallic tang mingles with wetted stone dust. You lay out a sheet, the cold stone weight presses your knuckles. The cat, your lap outranks the bench in thermal metrics, so one person th one cat so one cla a lane of Latin text cross-species collaboration chamber. Sometimes the tail swishes across a fresh line, dragging ink into root like capillary fans. You sigh, it glances back with eyes that say, if you framed that as ornament you'd suffer less. Let's dismantle a romantic trope. Not every illuminated page bloomed in serene perfection. Reality included inked paw prints, documented incidents of a cat defecating on wet parchment, and a marginal complaint roughly meaning, may this cat depart. Not your idealized hush, but living, breathing variability. Your fingertips track a ridge of healed scar beneath fur. A low purr begins, like a distant granary door rocking in even wind round, continuous. The vibration enters your bones, layering with far-off chant human syllables, chasing salvation, fuff-a-line low-frequency self, soothing. Two orders cohabiting. Act V, no tins, no freezer-dried marvels. Midday refectory viscous porridge, light salt, husk fragments. Scant vegetable fibers like green punctuation shards. No formulated kibble, no fish flavor gravy. Diet leftovers, kitchen sweepings. Occasional milk if rule leniency, plus self-procured prey. Result tighter musculature, modest fat pads, a gut condition to handle rough fiber voids. You tip a thin sheen of broth residue toward the wall. A black cat arrives. Sniff first, then precise staccato laps. Its tongue's natural abrasive rake leaves a flower-shaped, damped, dry gradient. You may imagine medieval cats luxuriating on endless scraps. Actually, caloric scarcity heightens hunt motivation. These cats understand energy accounting far better than many modern sofa aristocrats. Act VA. Social microstructure. In an arcade shadow you close a section. Stand to resume work. A cat weaves a figure eight around your legs. Tail base nearly vertical. A stylus writing. Attention social channel open. You extend a hand. It presses the toughest forehead plate into your knuckles. Steady, slow pressure. Scent gland broadcast. Expanding the perimeter of recognized. Clarification, not every monk adores cats. Some deem them distraction. Others fear superstition creep. Flip side isolation, repetitive labor, prolonged silence. These magnify the value of a warm rhythm generator. Records slip feline names into marginalia and verse. Naming escalates acknowledgement. You perhaps nickname the ear Notched Tabby, internally uplifting it to comrade status. Act V superstition, symbol, and the budding of later shadows. We need to puncture a flattened narrative. The entire Middle Ages did not uniformly demonize cats. Reality varies by region, century, social layer. Early in many locales they are utilitarians, companion mousers. Some texts use a cat's vigilant focus as an allegory for spiritual watchfulness. Yet, over centuries, religious framing, folk beliefs, feminine associations, nocturnal liminality intertwine. Certain colors, especially black, accrue symbolic weight. At this point, the shadow is only a darkening spot of ink, spread path undecided. Future persecutions in pockets will crash populations, indirectly letting rodents and fleas surge, offering disease a broader stage in an ecological cascade. You, here, cannot foresee it. Silence, night vision, sudden materialization make the cat a perfect boundary creature for storytellers. Still, you now, watch it bask in a rectangle of light, vertebrae each plated in warm gold. A wide, silent yawn, pink oral cave, resists mapping onto horror. Reality and later symbolism misalign before supper. Act V. Marginalia, emoji, you leaf another volume. A margin shows an exaggerated cat staring at an anthropomorphic mouse hauling a cart. Motive, playfulness, social satire, sheer psychic stretch after repetitive copying. Each time a chase rattles the room, tail knocking a quill, Crisp snap. Your suppressed sigh plot a companion's brief laugh. Environmental variables. Sketching a comic cat channels uncontrollable energy into deliberate line. You think, reaction images, are internet inventions, humanity's urge to freeze micro-emotion in portable pictograms is deeply old. Difference, no instant replication, you grind ink, steady breath, carve line into breathing membrane. Slowness makes each joke expensive, hence earnest. Act Ikes, dusk gradients and nocturnal guard. Sun lowers, light axes into long shards across stone. Kitchen vent releases onion, garlic, hay dust, lipid edge bitterness, fusing with cooling air, sinking into the cloister. Activity shifts dusk pod on golden double window. Cats pivot from languid midday to low-profile patrol. You trail a pale ginger juvenile across a threshold into the grain sack zone. You hold breath, passing sound, bell decay, a brother scraping a crate, and, there, a faint cereal crunch footfall. The cat's poised stillness stores kinetic charge, muscle-drawn bow. Release a single slit of absence in the air, then baseline reasserts, save for a tail filament swaying from its mouth. It returns with deliberate swagger, mission closure ritual. Clarify further hunts fail often. High miss ratio, tight caloric budget. Decision heuristics tuned to maximize probability. This is not equation on parchment, but a reflex database built by hunger and iterative error correction. Act XE. Winter and cold strategies. Advance the calendar to deep winter, wind knifes through high slits, carrying a damp iron tang like shaved metal laid into air. Cats compress near residual heat sources. They tessellate bodies, minimizing seams. You assume modernity invented, curl into a ball, lifestyle aesthetics. It's legacy behavior. An elder is permitted closer to the baking, residual warmth, seniority accumulated rodent removals, reward in thermal rights. Coat faded, broken whiskers, tear staining, but retains, redundant acoustic evaluation, calm. It sleeps deeper, ears still run their independent monitoring thread. Actix we, disease, risk and quiet departures, not all threads are warm. Disease, parasites, falls, unfriendly hands terminate arcs. One day a windowsill has absence where presence was. No marker, no formal rite, maybe a shallow patch of earth meters away. Sounds cold, yet in a world of high mortality and scarce resources, memorializing is more administrative than universal. Still, in a scriptorium lull your hand reaches for habitual lap weight and meets air, a vacuum hums in your chest half a second. You compress recollection of the purrs stabilized evenings, and resume. Emotion exists, just forced into compressed storage. Act X. Layered contrast with modernity. If you could hold a 1-second temporal aperture, you'd see future humans engineering heating pads, enrichment puzzles, nutrition ratios, brand identities, year-end compilations of most ridiculous feline face. You would give a faint, bittersweet smile here. Expression is printed on a living face, functional muscle shifts around hunt cycles, not marketing arcs. You may believe, we are kinda now, is pure, it's trade, vaccines, controlled climate, surgery. Yes, also captivity of purpose, some modern cats circle laser dots and inaccessible sparrows. Your monastery cats engage, live trial validation. Satisfaction yet bear pathogen and superstition loads. Who is happier? The question itself is 2 time scales attempting a univocal answer. Act C, deep night, and shared respiration. Night completes. Last chant reverberation dissolves. The stone room saturates in dark blue. An oil lamp, not fully spent, glows a soft oval, perimeter a grey blur. You set down the quill, wrist carries a faint throb. Floor 1, cat already coiled. Another drops from sill, slots into the crescent, a puzzle piece locking. Their purrs begin. Slightly detuned frequencies creating low beat patterns. You sit spine to column, eyes closed. Cold climbs from ankles. Feline radiance sets a localized inverse gradient over your knees. Breath slows, heart intervals filled by the layered drone. That sound is not mystic charm. It's structural vibration. Explanation does not strip the sedation. You realize 2 species collaborating in food security. Emotional modulation, loneliness buffering, accidental manuscript humor. And now a silent interval requiring no gloss translation. Act XIV. Reflection and the present. So your whole day witnessed a population without pedigree certificates or filter overlays, balancing function and affection. Their appearance lies not in breed tags but in scars, ear notches, pattern asymmetries, tight muscle fiber, an accumulated hunt ledger, in ocular switching speed between safety and alert, in how often they softened your solitary outlines. You thought her action image was a pixel invention. It existed, captured in margins, oral recollections, and muscle memory of brief laughter before solemn labor resumed. You thought sacred space and animal chaos must reject each other. They negotiated, guarding grain, protecting parchment, offering psychological ballast. You thought historical cuteness was a seamless confection. It's wrapped in parasites, nascent superstition, abrupt mortality. Now, in a modern room with thermostat, odor locking litter, automatic feeder, when your cat stretches a monumental yawn, you might realize that long ago on a cold stone another, whiskered being performed the same ancestral biomechanical flourish. Divided is not the motion but the cultural lens you export onto it. Gentle taper! Maybe next time you scroll past a cat deploying some bewildering face, pause, overlay it with a tricolor outline inked beside a blot of medieval iron gall. 2 eras. Emoji, nod across a continuity of utility and emotion. Here's the question. How much of the calm vigilance we borrowed from them can you still replicate amid today's noise tide? If this passage slowed your brainwaves, deepened breath, that's enough. May you sleep like an old grey tabby after 3 successful hunts. Not ecstatic, not wired, just folded securely into its own generated warmth. Good night, and next time you scoop kibble, or endure a pre-dawn paw alarm, maybe think of that faint line of paw prints in a stone cloister. Their story reminds us softness can cohabit hardship, warmth can precipitate in roughness, and history is never only dust. It also hums in a purr.